taking the time for your interview today. Can you introduce yourself and give a bit of background on your career and your company?
Absolutely. I'm Neeti Shukla, and I'm a co-founder at Automation Anywhere. We are basically a robotic process automation company. We create software bots that help people take care of the repetitive and manual tasks at work. So it could be anything, any task really that's repetitive in nature, using any application on any platform. And a lot of businesses and companies, of course, have a lot of repetitive work, and we enable those employees to get rid of that work by creating bots. And it's a low code option, no code option. So you really don't need to be a developer to do so. We've been in business about 17 years, and we're utilized across all verticals, all industries, pretty much across the board.
Wow. Are you one of the only companies out there that does that? I've never quite heard of it.
No, the industry has really taken off in the last 3 or 4 years. It was always prevalent. So again, automation isn't new as a concept, of course. Ever since we've had software, we've basically had automation at that level for computers. But typically, till RPA really came to be as an industry, automation was a really hard thing for most companies to do. So you'd require to, hire 2 or 3 engineers and then map the process. Then they write code for that process, and then they test it. And by the time it's actually released as automation, it's a year or two. Not to mention the process has changed. So often, a lot of companies would not automate repetitive processes, and they used manual labor to get past it. But what happened was people were really not doing their best work because they were so stuck. All of us are, have this administrative side of our work that is very, very repetitive and mundane. So RPA came to be as an industry because we democratized, really. We allowed people who were not developers, who were business users or developers or IT or HR, or doesn't matter in which department you worked, really, to help create those bots that would really take care of that repetitive work. Very easy, we've had people who literally make their first bot in 20 minutes, for example. So just giving that option to people so that they can stop doing that repetitive mundane work and really concentrate on the value added work, the skill set, the knowledge base, the creative aspects of work.
Sounds like any company needs that.
That's right. We think so.
So you will be inspiring many, many girls with this interview. Did you have any initial inspirations, mentors, or role models throughout your process?
Many role models. I think most people do have, so many role models across the board. But I come from an entrepreneurial family. And so to some extent, I've seen it all my life. I saw my, father, and I saw my uncles and aunts and my aunt, my mom, and so many of them lived the entrepreneurial life. So I think I gravitated towards it because I knew it a little bit, of course, but I liked the thrill of it.
Definitely. And what was your founding story? How did you come up with the idea for Automation Anywhere?
So I started Automation Anywhere with my husband, Mihir, and he's our CEO. And Mihir comes from a technology background, and I come from a marketing and a business background. And we would often talk about how software has become, often quite a cumbersome thing because of this lack of automation, and people had to do so much of manual work. And so right from the get-go, we thought automation really had to belong to everybody, and everybody must kind of be allowed or, have the ability really to help themselves through this. And so that's, how we started the company. We wanted automation to kind of be on every desktop, let every employee or every person who wanted to utilize it. You could be a mom and pop store, you could be a student, you could be an entrepreneur where there's always a lack of resources. Or you could be a really large company and with thousands of employees. And if you could allow them to automate, then you're really bringing the employee to that level where he's able to do his best work, or she's able to really get to that next level of innovation or creativity or strategic thinking. And that's where the seed started from. And we started it in 2003. The vision has not changed. We really want automation to be everywhere, because I think if you can automate everything that can be automated, you can concentrate on the customer.
That makes complete sense. And what would you tell a 13 to 16-year-old girl who wants to become an entrepreneur, but she feels like she's too young or too inexperienced?
Never too young. Never too young. But I think one thing that you can help yourself with is just grasp everything that you can grasp. So whether it's accounting, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, whether it's math, even, just explore, engage, understand. Because as an entrepreneur, you really have to solve all these challenges and all these problems in order to succeed. And having that knowledge, I think, is key, because if you have that knowledge, not only do you do a good job, but you have the confidence to do a good job. So it's really imperative to learn everything you can learn, explore, embrace, put yourself out there to learn these things. It will really serve you well as an entrepreneur.
I couldn't agree more. And that leads into my next question. You might have a similar answer, but what do you think is the most important first step for a young entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think everybody's journey is different, but I believe dream and confidence. I think the dream that you see very clearly what you want to do and how you want to do it is very important for an entrepreneur. You don't need to solve every problem. Don't get me wrong, right at the get go, but that dream signifies what you can achieve. And if that dream is big enough, or even small enough, but clear enough, it matters. And the confidence, don't take no for an answer. Don't shy away from risk. If you fail, you'll get up and you'll start again. That's okay. Just have the confidence to achieve that dream.
Those are all great pieces of advice. And once you do have that confidence and the dream nailed down, what do you think are the top 3 skills an entrepreneur needs to be successful?
I think grit comes to mind first. Hard work. Be really, really prepared for it. It's got so much potential, a dream or a thought or a entrepreneurial vision, I guess. But it will not come to you without hard work. So be ready for that hard work. It's a lot of work, of course, but it's a work on something that you'd love to do. So embrace that hard work. Two is, don't be afraid of failure. It's a part of the journey. A lot of us feel very let down. You'll have a thought and you'll try it out, and it'll be like, oh my god, like it just didn't work, and it puts you down. Yeah, one day, have a tub of ice cream, move on, get up, get to that next level and try again. Sometimes the solution comes after 8 tries. Sometimes the solution comes the first time, and sometimes the solution comes 100th time. That shouldn't let you down. That shouldn't bring you down. That's one of the key things, I think, on being an entrepreneur. And the third thing I would say is, don't lose the common sense. Often the hype of something working or not working will come and go. But as an entrepreneur, if it doesn't make sense, from a market perspective or a business perspective, or even a profit perspective, something's off. Change it. Change direction, or change the way you're delivering something, and get it right, because it must make business sense for it to succeed.
Those are all so true. I'm sure they resonate with a lot of people. And if you could take us a little bit behind the scenes, what are the most useful tools and platforms that you've found helpful for your business that could help younger girls starting companies?
I think technology, I mean, I come from a technology field, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. But technology is a great human enabler. And so really, explore the technologies out there. And as I said, learn as much as you can. A lot of things are free of cost to students, of course, or young adults. And a lot of things are available really to try out, and you should do so because that's the best way to explore and see how it fits into, because there's no one magic solution of applications that fits every business is different, every industry is different, but you need to explore that and understand that and bring that technology to really help you. I'm using Automation Anywhere as an example, but Automation Anywhere is about automation, of course. We believe in citizen automation, so everybody should be able to automate, right? So Automation Anywhere University has free everything. You can learn everything to automate free of cost. Go embrace it because it's free of cost, number one. Number two, it makes you operate your business better. And you'll be able to leverage your own resource, you as a resource, as an entrepreneur better. So just like that, there are thousands of applications and technologies out there that are free of cost, free to embrace, free to learn on, and you should do so.
Definitely. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've experienced the roller coasters of ups and downs. So, what has been the most disappointing or difficult part of entrepreneurship for you?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think by and large, there's nothing, let me rephrase that. There's nothing that I would regret or undo. I think there are parts of entrepreneurship that are a little bit lonely. And there are parts of entrepreneurship that really require that grit of getting up again and again. Now, looking in the rearview mirror, I don't regret it. But at that moment, when you have, taken a turn that could have been better for the company, or taken a turn that you had to undo and redo in a different way, you might feel that pinch. But again, don't let it bring you down. Shake it off, and get on with it. It's your vision. Make it a reality.
Another great piece of advice. And on the flip side, what is the most rewarding part of the process for you?
I love the challenge. I think as a company grows, if you're an entrepreneur at a lemonade stand or entrepreneur at a larger level, it's the challenge of it that is most rewarding. I think, saying I'm going to sell 100 glasses of lemonade, or I'm going to sell 100 licenses of the software. It's that challenge of making it a reality that's most rewarding.
Definitely. And what helps you when you do face those tough times or the setbacks?
Many things, I think. One is if you're an entrepreneur, inherently you are a positive thinker. You are an optimist by definition. I think entrepreneur is a synonym for optimism, because you do see the value or the rainbow at the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Sorry. And so hold on to that optimism, because that optimism will get you there. So that's definitely a big part of it.
And how do you handle the gender gap in the entrepreneurial space? Have you faced any experience of that personally?
You do. The world has come a long way for women, I think, and the women before us have left a much better world than they faced for us. But personally, I've never let it bother me. It doesn't really, I don't think on it. It doesn't affect me, if that makes sense. I never believed I could not do something because I was a woman. And I really didn't much care what other people thought of it. So it was maybe a little bit easier because of that. But I believed that if I wanted to do something, I needed to work really hard and get to it. And so don't let anybody bring you down in any form or fashion. It might be a bit tough. It's tough for some men out there too. But being a woman will come with its challenges. We're better off than we were before. and we'll continue paying it forward. So it'll be easier for the next generation of our daughters to do hopefully, much bigger things because it was a little bit easier.
Yes, that's such a true point. And how do you and your husband address diversity in your workplace?
Very, very consciously and very mindfully, if that makes sense. Because I think right from the get-go, where Automation Anywhere was concerned, we had a founder that was a man and a woman. So we were very conscious of the fact that the way we wanted to kind of set up the company was to make all people feel welcome. It really was the best person for the job. Didn't matter if, what color you were or what gender you were or where in the world you were from, really. Because that was an important part of getting the best job out there. Two, we are in the artificial intelligence space, and where I speak a lot on that for inclusion, because when we train robots to work on artificial intelligence, we really want to train them to take care of that gender gap. That inclusiveness changes the way we think, and we want the bots trained on a very inclusive landscape. So it's very important to get all the perspectives we can from inclusion, while we train the bots. And so having a woman, and of course other races and other religions and other geographic locations into that mix is essential for that artificial intelligence to really be really good and reliable and intelligent. So it's important across the board. It's important from the product point of view. It's important on how Automation Anywhere does business. And more importantly, it's how I want to leave the world for my own daughters. And inclusion is a big part of it.
I remember hearing that technology could be sexist or racist, and I was completely blown away. I've never seen it the same way since then.
Correct. And that's the point, that we have a unique opportunity here to bridge that gap. Again, the way technology progressed, it is the way it is. Now, what do we do to fix it? Mm-hmm. And this is the point that we keep coming back to, women in STEM, women in AI, women entrepreneurs. These are all important places for women to be, because if we are there when the decisions are being made or the strategy is being formulated, then we can actually, help par the course for it. And that's why we need to show up. We need to be there so that we can make that difference and go forward.
This is an exciting opportunity. It's a good thing there are companies like yours out there.
I'm glad. I hope we leave that mark for long, of course, but for women all over the world. It would be an honor, really, and a privilege to do so.
Definitely. I have a few more questions, and there are some fun ones. So the first one is about time travel. If you could go back to 2003 and the founding of your company and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say?
Oh, I've got to think on that one. I think dream bigger. I would dream bigger. I would dream. It took me, a few steps, I guess, to dream as big as I did. And I think that if I had dreamt bigger right from the get-go, maybe it would have been an even more difficult challenge that we could have taken on. Don't know, but I would dream bigger.
That is one of the best responses I've ever heard to that question. And what has been the most satisfying moment in your career as a leader of your own company?
When our product or technology is being used by something that is changing the world, it gives me immense joy. So technology like ours at Automation Anywhere are catalyst technologies, as I call them, because what they aim to do is, like the PC, change the way we do business everywhere, right? How we work. Like that, democratization of automation will allow more products and services, more creative options for customers, more really human-centric work being done. And so when it's used as that kind of a technology, when it's a catalyst to unleash another set of products and services that will help change the world, it gives me great pleasure. So I'll give you an example. We'll all remember 2020 as the year of the pandemic where we were stuck at home. But when the technology was used, our own platform was used at hospitals to monitor oxygen, or used by vaccine trials, or for vaccine distribution, or anything like that, where people are using this technology as a ways to, again, bring to life their dream of creating vaccines in less than a year, or monitoring oxygen when the staff is overwhelmed, or anything that really changes their own delivery to their own customers. It gives immense joy that it's being used for something as significant as that.
I can imagine. That is incredible. And when you do have those big moments, or even when you reach smaller goals, how do you celebrate?
Oh, the tub of ice cream is always there. Uh, no, I think the celebration is always for the team. These things are never possible without the whole team, and so just having that team to celebrate, and to take a moment to revel in what we've done and what we've achieved, is really a great high.
I bet. I have a bonus question now. What is your favorite word?
I think in this context, a woman.
I love that. And finally, can you share a funny story from your career?
Um, Okay. I don't know if it's funny, but I'll
Okay.
try. We launched, as you know, Automation Anywhere in 2003. And, we just went live. And Mihir and I, my husband and I, went down to celebrate with a cup of coffee. And while we were having coffee, he says to me, you know what? We should buy our own product and be the first customer. So we're not just employee one and two, but we're also customer one and two. And so he goes back upstairs, and it was an online buy. You could just buy the license online. So he goes up to buy it. And this is about maybe 10 minutes after the launch. And somebody's beat us to it. And there was this person or company from Australia that had already bought the first license. And we didn't know whether to be elated or not. And, it was just one of those moments where we were like, oh my God, like, how did that happen? Somebody bought our license, within the first 10 minutes of us launching. It was so great. But oh my God, we can't be customer one and two. So it was a moment that stayed with us, because we weren't customer one and two. But it was really inspiring to see that somebody, was willing to put money, even if it was a small amount, 10 minutes after we launched.
Wow, that's a great surprise.
Yeah.
Those are all of my questions. Do you have anything else you want to add, or any last pieces of advice for the girls?
No, I say this often, and I'll say it again here. Women can, must, and will. And I use that as a kind of a lodestone, I guess, for me to stay on track at all points. Don't ever believe you cannot do anything because you're a woman, of course. But especially for entrepreneurs, women can change the world with entrepreneurship. And so, stay true. Don't let failure stop you. You will, you must, and you will pay it forward too.
That was a great piece of advice to end on. Thank you so much for your time today. I had a great time talking.
Me too, Isabel. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Bye.